Well, spending hasn't stopped. It hasn't slowed down. And I know we're all excited right now about the way things are going. We have mass deportations, confirmations are going through. At least we hope confirmations we like. Woohoo, things are changing. I'm happy, you're happy, everyone's happy. However, spending the country into bankruptcy is still going. And apparently the GOP intends to keep it going. Joining me now to talk about that, great congressman from the state of Texas, my friend Chip Roy. Okay, Chip, what the hell's going on?
Well, Jesse, good to be on. So here's the deal, and put it in summary form. The big tension right now among Republicans is what do we do on the so-called reconciliation product, right? This is the package that we have to do under the Budget Control Act to reconcile tax policy and our spending policy to achieve zero deficit. Now, before you laugh, right, that's what the law requires. So we're going through that process. The upside is that you can do it with majority vote in the House and the Senate. Remind you, Democrats use this to jam through Obamacare. So we should and can use this to truly have some transformative change with respect to spending, taxes, and some policies that are embedded in those decisions, like healthcare. So here, where are we? There's been a debate about one bill versus two bill. That's kind of shiny. The reason that debate has existed, I favor two bills, is because I want to move quickly. I want to get the border funded. I want to get defense funded properly, not through waste, but to give Hegseth what he needs to modernize the military. And then I want to get cuts to the very upfront immediate things like, for example, the student loan fiasco, the electric vehicle mandates. And then I'm happy to give the president an increase in the debt ceiling, probably bigger than I would personally prefer, because I want to give him the room to go get his job done. Then do a second bill on taxing and spending. There's a big debate right now, and we're now focusing on one big so-called beautiful bill. Well, I'm for a big beautiful bill if it actually cuts spending. So this morning, I'm told down in Florida, I didn't go there. I went to Texas to be with my family because my family needed me to be home. And I knew what would happen in Florida, which is more of the same. I'm getting updates, and I'm not going to announce them yet because this was a private meeting, but they're what you would expect, which is not really big cuts. They want to issue what's called instructions to the budget committee to have, I'm going to generally characterize, fairly low numbers of additional cuts to, quote, offset what we're going to have to outlay with respect to the tax policy. Last point, don't mean to filibuster. Republicans have been taught for forever that tax cuts pay for themselves. I, broadly speaking, agree with the notion if you leave money in the hands of the taxpayers, they will create wealth. I don't want taxes. I'd like to zero out the tax code. But if you're going to do that, then you at least have to do math. Because if we keep printing money, then that's a tax on our future kids, grandkids, and on our entire ability to exist because of inflation. So I'm demanding that with the tax cuts, we have spending cuts. We are getting resistance on that, and thus the conflict.
Okay, so break down a couple things for me, Chip, and you're always welcome to filibuster on this show because it explains things to us. One, why Florida? What's going on in Florida? Two, when you're talking about cuts to things like electric vehicle mandates, student loan ridiculousness, that seems like bread and butter, easy GOP layups. You're not asking them to take a hardcore pro-life position or something like that. Why is there any resistance at all? Please.
Well, I'm not yet sure where the resistance will be fully on student loans or EV mandates, but what I do know is they couldn't agree with me and some of my colleagues who all signed a letter saying we would do those things to do it quickly. My view was give the president the border funding now. Let's get these people removed. Let's get them repatriated. Let's support Tom Homan, and let's do it quickly because the more time that goes on, they're going to have a parade of horribles. They're going to show a picture of somebody getting removed that seems sympathetic, and then we're going to have a tough time getting that money. But what's really going on down in Florida is it's a Republican retreat. That's fine. I don't know why we have to go down to a resort in Florida to do that, but fine. They go to a resort, go do that. But I knew what was going to happen. So I just made a choice to go be in Texas. But I'm in constant communication with them. And what's happening right now is they're putting forward cuts that are pretty small, but yet the tax amount is pretty significant. So what does that mean? Right now, if you look at outside entities, the Congressional Budget Office, all these other things, and I don't trust any one of them per se, they have a cost to the tax cut, right? Well, let's take child tax credit, Jesse. Nobody will tell me, and I'm asking everybody in the House of Representatives, will you tell the world that child tax credits will pay for themselves through economic growth? The answer to that is no. It's an $800 billion 10-year deduction for parents for their kids. That might be great policy, Jesse, but it's not economic productivity. So you can't go on the other hand say, oh, we don't need to go cut spending to pay for that. I believe you do. So that's all I'm saying. Can we just do math? And we teach our kids to do math. Just put up a big whiteboard. Let's just put up all of the taxes on one side. Let's put up all of the spending on the other side, and let's balance that. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, so can you merge these worlds for me, Chip? Because I hear the Trump administration, Trump is trying to make these big, bold moves like cutting the income tax, which obviously is music to my ears, music to everybody's ears, I suppose. But we're talking about cutting income taxes. Great, sounds good. But they don't want to cut any spending in the House. So one of those two things is never going to happen, right?
Well, so this is the actual big question. So there's a lot of pressure, for good reason, to make the tax cuts that were put in place in 2017 permanent. The corporate rates are already permanent, okay? Let's be very clear. And those were the big economic engine in 2017. The other rates are the ones expiring, the standard deduction, the individual rates, the child tax credits, et cetera. So everybody wants to keep their lower taxes. They don't want the taxes to go up next December. I agree. I share that view. I'm a taxpayer. I'd like to zero out my taxes. But are we going to get spending cuts? The answer is no, if some of us don't force the question when tied to the tax cuts, because the pressure for tax cuts is real high. And I'm saying, guys, I can't agree to give you your tax cuts and then expect that tomorrow you're going to deliver for me the spending cut, because they will never do it. So that's the fight we're having right now.
All right, tell me about China owning farmland here, Chip, before I let you go.
Yes, I introduced a bill 4 years ago to ban Chinese ownership of any land. It's particularly egregious when it's farmland, but I don't think it should just be farmland that we prohibit. I think it should be all land. Frankly, I don't think the ChiCom should own any of our significant assets. No meatpacking plants, production facilities, certainly not land. We would never let Nazi Germany own land in America in 1939 or 1944 or after the war. So I think we should restrict it. Frankly, I might even go further and introduce a bill that says, why does any foreign national own any real estate or land in this country? I understand you want capital to flow into our nation, but I don't think I want foreigners owning dirt, even if they're supposedly our friends, but certainly not the ChiCom. So that's what my bill would do. I've reintroduced it now for the, I think, third Congress. And I think we need to act on it. I don't think this is that hard. It's in our national security interest, and it's frankly, I think, just sensible policy.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.